It's time to get the wheels dirty on the RC Driver Traxxas TRX-4. I am so excited for today. How's it going, everybody? Greg here with RC Driver, and as you can see, I've got my Traxxas TRX-4 here, and today is the day I finally get the tires dirty on it. I am out here in New Milford, Connecticut at one of my favorite parks. Check out that view right there. It's pretty awesome, and the other cool view is the terrain here. It is really cool. We got rock and dirt and just different types of terrain to test out the TRX-4. And it is pretty hot out here too. Man, I picked a day to do this, but this is going to be a lot of fun. I'm really excited to check out all the different abilities of the scale and trail crawler. Then I'm actually going to go to another park here where there's a stream. Going to test it out there, make sure it holds up, and then I have one more test that I'm going to do, and I'm not going to tell you about it right now, and so you're going to have to watch the entire video. Let's see the TRX-4 do some work. Yep, you guessed it. My last test is a speed run. Traxxas is the fastest name in radio control, so it only seems fitting to see how fast the TRX-4 goes. Now, I went ahead and I already installed the Traxxas link in my radio system. I had one from a summit project I did, and I installed the GPS telemetry here, and I already have the app set up on my phone. So just for fun, let's see how fast this truck goes. And the speed test is complete. So how fast does the TRX-4 go? Well, on a Traxxas 3S 5000 milliamp LiPo in race mode, it goes 11 miles an hour. There it is right there, the top speed. That's pretty quick for a stock trail truck. Wow, driving the TRX-4 was so much fun. In that part where I'm driving it through the riverbed, it was probably 100 degrees that day and the humidity was crazy. And I was completely drenched about 5 minutes into driving it, and I spent another 2 hours there simply because I was having a lot of fun. I had actually finished doing all the video in about 15 minutes there, but I kept driving because the TRX-4 is just a blast to drive. So now we're on to the review portion of this video. And I'm going to break down each of the different parts of the review: steering, handling, acceleration, durability. I'm going to talk about it all. So where do we start? Let's start with handling. So my first test was out on the rocks, and there were some pretty steep rock ledges out there, and there was just a variety of terrain, which was perfect to test out this truck. So over some gnarly flat ground terrain, some rocks on the ground, some different ledges popping out and stuff like that, this truck handled awesome. It just had this realistic look to it, and it had no problems grabbing traction and pulling itself over a lot of the rocks. There was no problems with clearance, maybe like once or twice where the axles got hung up on a sharp ledge. But in comparison to some other vehicles I drove, this machine handled the terrain incredibly. I was really impressed. Where things got a little tricky was when I was trying to climb up some steep angles. That's where the weight of the body caused a bit of an issue for the truck itself. Now, I believe the chassis, the suspension, it could handle some very steep terrain, but because the body is so detailed with so many things on it, it weighs the body down a little bit, and so it causes a higher CG. And I'd roll the truck off some of the steep angles I was working on. I did pull the body off and tried to attack some of those steep angles, and the truck actually got up. So if you go and start modifying this vehicle with a different body, or even just strip down a lot of the stuff on here, you could probably go and attack some of those steep angles. But I'm not going to knock the truck for it. Traxxas developed a really cool looking body, and that's what happens when you add a lot of accessories. It weighs the thing down, and I don't think that should take away from people's opinion of the handling. If you want cool looks, you got to deal with what comes with it. Okay, next up, let's talk about steering. So this is a new servo from Traxxas specifically for this rig, and it does really well right out of the box. Again, on that flat level terrain where you're going over tree stumps and rocks and, you know, going through riverbeds, there was not a problem whatsoever. It did really well. The only time I noticed a real problem for me with the steering was when I was coming down some descents and I'd get the wheels jammed in a tight situation. It wasn't able to pull it back out. The servo would stall out. But again, I was putting full weight of the truck on the front wheels, and I think it was understandable that a stock servo wouldn't be able to pull it out of that type of situation. And again, a lot of people that are going to go and modify these, I'm certain you're going to go and buy an aftermarket servo for it. But for the stock servo, it did a lot better than other servos on the market in comparable vehicles. The turning radius, well, you saw the videos. The turning radius is amazing. This thing could turn almost on a dime, and for a trail truck, that's pretty cool. You unlock the diffs, and this thing will carve some tight corners. Even with the diff locked, it does pretty well in the steering department. Now, acceleration. I'm sure you guys saw my little speed run there. Again, Traxxas is the fastest name in radio control, so I had to see how fast this thing went. And yep, out of the box, on a 3S LiPo battery, with the speed controller set on race mode, it goes 11 miles an hour. But of course you could go and you could tune that. You could dial it down to 50% throttle in training mode if you want. You could run it in low gear to get that speed down for a more scale feel to it. But what's really neat is that the wheel speed is there. There were a number of instances where I needed the wheel speed to clear an obstacle, and it was nice to have it on hand. And again, it was nice to just kick it back down in low gear and crawl in a nice scale fashion and get over the rocks nice and smooth. Now, one neat feature that I didn't talk about in my unboxing was the cruise control in the radio system. It's a pretty neat little feature to have. I don't know if I'm going to use it that often, but when I was out in the field just driving around through some grass and stuff like that, it was pretty neat to just click it in the cruise control mode and just concentrate on the steering, and then when I needed to, I just hit the brake and the throttle was back to normal. And finally, I want to talk about durability. And unfortunately, I don't have any issues to report other than some scrapes on the body. When I was out in the beginning driving on some steep rock ledges, it did take some nasty tumbles down. There was actually an area where there was a cliff behind one of the rocks. It was probably like a 4-foot drop, and I went over the side and it dropped to the bottom. There was a loud smash, and I looked over the edge and I saw the truck was fine. It was actually sitting on all 4 wheels, and I drove it out of the area and just kept going. It sounded a lot worse than it was. And then there was the water test where I was driving it through the riverbed, and generally you don't want to get the vehicle wet above the axle line. Well, I had the vehicle sunk down up to the window line, and I didn't have any electrical issues from water. I'm not suggesting you do that. I suggest you follow the manual, but I wanted to push this test to the limits. I was willing to accept what happened to it, but the vehicle came out without issue. So what are my final thoughts of the Traxxas TRX-4? Well, Traxxas really had to put out something amazing to gain the respect of the scale and trail crawlers out there, and I think they nailed it. I think they did an awesome job and delivered a great truck that a lot of people are going to enjoy. I've seen a few rumblings online about the price of the vehicle, but you really need to go and break down what you're getting with this vehicle. You're getting a licensed body with a lot of cool accessories already on it. You're getting portal axles already on it. You're getting a speed controller that has multiple modes in it and does really well with the trail programming. You're getting a good multifunctional radio system. You're getting some great tires that have a lot of grab to them. You're getting a high-low transmission, and you're getting a vehicle that you can adjust the diff in 3 different settings. There's nothing else out there like that. Plus, the quality is all there. Traxxas did their research. They made the gear widths proper. They have proper bracing everywhere. The tie rods are bulky and strong. The shocks, the frame rails, all the little details, this all makes for a very impressive scale and trail crawler. I am really impressed with this machine, and I'm looking forward to building a lot of projects off this platform. Hope you guys enjoyed this review. If you haven't done so yet, please click that subscribe button. We've got more stuff on this vehicle coming up. Don't want you to miss it.